Hi, this is Mike Philippov from PracticeGuitarNow.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about two very effective methods for using the metronome to build your guitar technique and improve your speed. The most common way guitar players use a metronome when practicing is by taking whatever practice item they're working on, turning the metronome at a slow tempo, and practicing the item over and over, gradually increasing the speed in small increments, hoping to eventually get to their goal tempo. There are two big problems with this approach. First of all, any mistakes, any technical breakdown, any sloppy playing that occurs is least likely to happen at the slower speeds, which is where most of your practice time is taking place. So you're not really becoming aware of your mistakes until you get up to much higher tempos. And the reason why that's a problem is because when you practice slowly, you're supposed to be focusing on very specific problems that you have identified occurring in your playing and in your technique and fix them so that they do not happen at faster playing. But if you start practicing everything slowly at first, you don't even know what to focus on. So you simply mindlessly go through the motions, and by the time you get to the higher tempos where the mistakes happen, you haven't done any practicing to remove those problems from your technique, and so all you end up doing is simply repeating mistakes. And the second problem with this approach is that it oftentimes leads you to practice in a very mindless way. Since you don't have a very specific set of things to focus on to improve in your technique and in your playing of a specific passage, you are simply going through the motions of playing the notes at a progressively higher tempo and just are hoping for the best. This is not the best way to practice. So here's what I recommend for you to do as a better alternative. First, learn the passage of music you're supposed to be practicing. So make sure you're clear on the fingering and on the picking of the notes, and that you can play that passage all the way through at a very slow tempo without stopping or making mistakes. That's step one. Next, you're going to work backwards. Instead of starting at a very slow tempo and gradually increasing the speed, you're going to start at or near your maximum speed, and you're going to gradually decrease the tempo in small increments until you get to a point where whatever mistakes were happening at your top speed no longer happen. Then you stay at that speed and make sure your technique is absolutely perfect, and then you now start bridging the gap between the fastest speed you can handle without mistakes and the fastest speed overall where the mistakes are happening and your playing is starting to sound sloppy. So the secret behind the effectiveness of this approach is twofold. First, you start at your top speed by becoming aware of your mistakes, and thus you have a very specific set of things to focus on while practicing so that your technique actually gets better as a result of practicing instead of simply mindlessly going through the motions. And second, you don't waste time by practicing at absurdly slow speeds that are very easy and that you know you can easily play at without mistakes. You want to stay in the zone where it's still under control, but it's challenging enough so that you have to pay 100% attention to making sure your technique is perfect and the mistakes are not happening. And then gradually bridge the gap between that point and your current maximum speed so you can go beyond it. So practice this alternation of the common approach of using the metronome, and it will help you to become more efficient with your practice time and have an easier time improving your technique and speed.